now we have a man whose character kind of decided to wander off at the end of season 4, but we are lucky to have found Gustav Skarsgård as well. Rivals. First, we have Alexander Ludwig, who plays the very badass Bjorn. And now making his debut appearance at Comic-Con, so let's make him welcome, is Alex Huck Anderson, who plays Ivar.
Hello.
We're going to start with a question for Catherine, because as all of you know, we have lost someone since the last time we were here. Ragnar has gone to Valhalla. So, Catherine, how is Lagertha's relationship with Ragnar influencing the way she rules as queen?
Oh, wow. Well, as you know, that Lagertha is now queen. And I think, oh, it's so sweet. I think it comes down to, even back to the first season, when they had the same dreams as Ragnar Lagertha, when they were happily in love, when they were still farmers, and they had the same dream of really spreading the Viking civilization to be able to explore new lands. And I think for her as a ruler now, as queen, as with responsibilities of now ruling, she still has that same dream. And really fulfilling his legacy as well as her own path. And I think that's what really unites them together.
And she is such a hands-on queen.
Oh, she
gets out there and gets dirty. She's not just there.
Yeah. I think the difference with her as being queen, she's definitely, whereas when Ragnar was king, he had a hard time with that power and that control and dealing with the responsibility. I think Lagertha understands her role, and she's really the people's queen and the people's ruler, and she really wants to do right by her people and to be able to rule properly in a diplomatic way and rule from a part of her heart and strategy versus necessarily not accepting it. So it's a huge responsibility, I'll tell you that.
She's gone full Daniel Day-Lewis too, like she was just calling her highness.
Yes, Michael, you have given Catherine a huge responsibility, but you also had to approach writing this series very differently after a character like Ragnar was killed off. What were some of the challenges for you in going on and writing the series after that?
Well, let me say, first of all, hello, Comic-Con. You are our greatest, most knowledgeable, most passionate fans, and it's a huge pleasure and privilege every year to come back and see you and more of you. It's a fantastic experience for all of us. Thank you. It was very difficult to write the death of Ragnar, and a very passionate experience for me. Ragnar being a huge part of my life, as well as Travis's, and we worked very hard to make his death as significant, extraordinary, and filmic as we could. I think it's an astonishing episode in which he dies, but the question of how you supersede that, the question of where you went from that, in a sense didn't occur to me as if it was a dead end, or as if that, I'd always known when I started writing this show that it was about Ragnar Lothbrok and his sons, because I knew that the historical sons did as many extraordinary things as he did. And after all, this was always a family saga, and we've seen children being born. We've seen Alex as a kid, being born, and so I was always confident that the show was big enough to carry the death of Ragnar and go forward. And of course, when you have a character who's as great and powerful and charismatic as Ragnar, if they die, people want to know what happens next. That's quite natural. It's clearly not the end of something. It's the beginning of the next chapter. And we've such a great cast, but it also allowed me to introduce new players, new cast to develop the sons, which has been, and even for Bjorn to come ultimately into his own, to see if he's going to make a ruler as his father was, to see what he's going to make of his life.
Nice song.
So I didn't see it as a problem, it was an opportunity.
Okay. Well, I do want to ask Alex, what was it like what was your audition like for this? How did that go for you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, which Alex, by the way, we have a lot of...
Our new boy down here.
First of all, thank you for having me. Holy wow. Long story short, the audition was pretty crazy. I remember I was looking forward to the third edition when we were like 14 guys left, and we were auditioning in Dublin. And 4 hours in, Frank Marcel, our casting director, came down and poked me on the shoulder and told me to read for Ivor. And at this point, I'd only been reading for Upa Sigurd Ditzer. So I had no clue who Ivor was. I was a little nervous when he asked for that. I've never been sweating that much with my style. So I was sitting there for half an hour trying to learn the lines for this new character, and when I finally got up there, I just asked Michael what the heck was up with this character. And he asked, he explained about his disease and all that, and I was like, well, is he in constant pain? And Michael replied that he thought he was. So in my mind, I was like, okay, if he's in constant pain, because I had no idea who this character was, if he's in constant pain, then he's used to it. I mean, he wouldn't show it. So what I literally did was just sitting there and, doing that kind of lean forward, you've seen and all that. And of course, I screwed up the first time. I screwed up the second time. And I was like, are we going to do this, Alex? Are we going to? Okay, cool. And well, third time we got through it, and it was a great experience. And now I'm sitting here.
Gustav, I want to ask you, your character Floki has been,
Love you!
He's really been such an interesting part of the show for so long. He can be very introspective, he's a very intellectual character, but he also trained both of these guys. He trained them to be Vikings. So, what does Floki think? Who should really take over?
I think from Floki's perspective, where he's at, stop touching like that. I clearly passed the crown to Alex. Now, honestly, see? No, but I think where Floki's at this point of the story, he's beyond the mundane dealings with who's going to become the next king. He's lost everything. So if you ask him from Floki's perspective, at this point he doesn't give up. You know, he's leaving this world behind for whatever he doesn't know. He's submitting himself to the will of the gods and be what it may, become what it may. That's where he's at the end of the season and the beginning of the new one. But if you ask me, like Gustav, I think Bjorn would make more sense, because he's not a psychopath. But then again, if you ask Loki, on another side of Loki, he would be like, but you did chain me up once. Yeah.
We live together, so we do that every Wednesday night. That spices up the relationship.
That one time you chained me up. Don't touch me like that. So I think they're very different characters, and I think we all look forward as much. I look forward as much as you guys to see what's going to happen. The battle for the succession.
Did you guys know that Michael Hurst now has written 69 hours of television all by himself on Vikings?
That's a lot of moolah.
And absolutely amazing. Huge, definitely a big honor. Amazing accomplishment.
Absolutely. And he did write a scene that I want to ask Alexander Ludwig about, which puzzled me, and maybe you too, but why did he go and sleep with his mother's girlfriend?
Yes.
Hold on.
Come on.
So like, the idea behind that, and I thought
I hear it.
a really cool thing is that you watch the show, everybody has a conventional way of looking at things and judge people.
Is that a deer walking?
And you judge. That's amazing.
Someone ripped that head off. I don't know that fox. Someone take the head off that fox.
They're talking about a costume they can see from up here.
Okay, Alex, I actually want to hear, why did you sleep with my girlfriend?
Okay, so basically, the idea is, there's so many things that you try to address in the show and you only have limited time to show it. But basically, the whole idea behind that is that was normal. People, you can't look at it from the way we all live our lives and what we think is conventional. That's not how they live. So, to what us, you look at this show from our perspective, it seems brutal, but back then, Bjorn is suddenly becoming a man, he's taking what he wants. And you're not going to like him for that, and that's a good thing. Nobody's perfect. And I was really happy to start showing some more ruthlessness and some more flaws.
And I'm happy to share. Okay.
You did establish that sharing.
There's been some sharing going on for a while.
You should do more work off screen as well. It's so weird, right? She plays the mom. And I was like, I have an idea.
Well, don't mess with Vladimir too much, okay? Because as we saw, she can surprise you. Catherine, I was wondering if you could tell us about the scene where she killed Aslog.
Yes. Had to go.
She had to go. There's only one queen gotta get. I read that scene and I remember actually being a little bit conflicted with it as an actor, just because I wanted to be able to, first of all, Aslog has come a long way, but I think Lagatha has definitely ruled from her heart, and she feels Kattegat is not represented in the right way. And she feels that it's not ruled properly, and it's not how she originally saw her home should be led. And I feel that it was one of those things that she needs to reclaim. She needs to take back her home. She needed to do what's right. I know, I'm not sure, well, that was a very tricky scene just because it was a very emotional scene with Alyssa. Everybody was crying at the end of that because after 3 years, it was very emotional to see her go. But she's an incredible woman and very powerful, and it's nice to be able to have a scene where a strong woman approaches another strong woman and go head to head.
Well, why did you shoot her in the back?
Michael, why did I shoot her in the back? Let's talk about that.
Don't blame me.
Don't blame me, yeah. Well, whenever we lose a character on Vikings, we do get a new one, and we got a really quick tease at the end of season 4 of a new character, and that's Bishop Heckman, played by Jonathan Myers. And I want to ask you, Michael, you worked with him on Tudors, so what can you hint a little bit about this character? He does come head to head with Ivar at some point, doesn't he?
He does, because he's a warrior, great warrior, but he's also a bishop. These warrior bishops did exist at the time. In fact, Heckman is a real character who, the historical Heckman died in battle, but they were real bishops, they were real men of God. They were very intelligent, very well educated, but they also felt that they needed to take up the sword to defend the cross. And they're actually the precursors of the Knights Templar, who came along a few centuries later. So these are characters, so if you think about that dichotomy, if you think about that contradiction in a way, these are complex people, these are not straightforward people, and so I thought Johnny was perfect to play someone who was complex and not straightforward. Johnny, who obviously I knew and loved from working for years with him on Tudors, is a very, very charismatic actor, a very good actor, very powerful and intense actor, and commands the screen. And what we did need at that moment was a forceful Saxon warrior who could stand up to the Vikings, who could stand up intellectually, as it were, with Ivar, but also at war with Bjorn. And I've been slightly criticised by making the Saxons seem occasionally rather too weak when confronted by the Vikings. I don't think that's necessarily fair, but I took that on board, and I was happy to invest in a new character who brought a lot of potency, a lot of power, a lot of threat to the Saxon side. So Johnny is an unpredictable character in the show, an unpredictable man in real life. I love him very much. And I think when you see what happens in season 5, you will agree that, he's a huge, huge addition to the show. He's absolutely amazing in the show. And he does come head to head with Ivar, and that's one hell of a collision.
Well, Alex Anderson, speaking of going head-to-head with people, what kind of research did you do when you got this role? How did you kind of prepare to play someone who was disabled but also had to be quite a fighter?
Well, of course, I had to study and do a lot of research in terms of understanding the disease, osteogenesis imperfecta, or real bone disease. And just understanding that in terms of what is his limitations, and besides that, learning a lot about that, reading stories about people that suffers from it, and talking to doctors and stuff like that. But training-wise, we got a personal trainer. History got us a personal trainer in the beginning that absolutely killed us. Like 5 days in a week, 6 days in a week, and it was horrible. And I mean, that and you know, crawling around my hotel room for the first 3 weeks, yelling Old Norse, that was a little, I mean, the neighbors must have been like, what is going on? It's been quite a ride, and I have the most amount of respect for that disease and people who struggle with that every single day. Yeah.
Well, we talked about. We talked about this new bishop character. Part of the show has always been Christianity, the Norse religion, and this season we also saw a Muslim town, village. So, and there was a really interesting moment where Floki stopped some Viking raiders from killing people in the mosque. And Gustav, I'm wondering if you can tell us why he stopped them. What does that signal about your character?
I think it's a combination of two things. Floki at this point has done what he thought was right to honor his gods. He killed Athelstan to save his best friend, and for that he was, imprisoned and tortured, and he lost his child. He's also, gone to war with Paris, and all that went to hell. So he's conflicted at this point. He's questioning his methods, right? So he's like, right before they arrive to this place in Spain where the Muslims live, he's on the boat with Helga, and he says something about that he's lost. He feels like he's lost at sea. He's looking for a new meaning somehow. And he comes there and he's confronted with these people praying in a room where there are no idols. Now remember, this is a man who builds his own wooden idols of his gods. They are the physical incarnations of his gods. And here he comes into a room that is spiritual, but it's not manifested physically. And he's intrigued by that. And also the conviction that these people have in their praying. They don't even get up, even though men with weapons are storming the room. And I think that he feels some sort of connection, a deeper spiritual connection to their conviction. Not their religion, because he doesn't know anything about it, but that there's something in the fearlessness in their conviction that he can relate to, and that he's perplexed by that. So that alone, combined with the fact that he's now at a point where, he's very confused. He doesn't know, maybe he's been going down the wrong path, just killing for the sake of killing, and he's questioning everything. And we will definitely see more of that questioning in the following season, whereas at the end of the season, he's lost, completely. He submerges himself to the oceans, to the will of the gods, and yeah, it's definitely a very personal, spiritual crisis and journey for folk that we get to see in this season.
That'll be fascinating to see.
Great answer, by the way.
Well, it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. Alexander Ludwig, you're super focused. He knows what he wants. And we've seen some pictures that have come out. We know you guys shot in Morocco because he makes it to the northern African deserts. And we see you riding a camel. Now, maybe you're but Alexander Ludwig did fight a bear a couple seasons ago. So I want to know, is it harder to work with a bear or a camel?
Oh my god, the camel stinks so bad. Oh my god, the breath is just the horse shit. No, God, that Morocco, the whole thing is just going to be, it's just ridiculous. I had no idea that we made it that far. I think that everybody's going to be, it's pretty spectacular to see our culture, the culture that we've all created and brought to, these totally different world. I mean, it's like, you know, you've got this desert landscape, a totally different culture that they're integrating with and that they're speaking with, and just so much happens, and it's really, really fascinating. I hope we get to explore more of that. I mean, like, I had no idea that Vikings made it to Africa. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they pretty much got everywhere. They went into
Incredible.
Well, I mean, that goes to something I was talking about with Michael earlier, which was, tell us kind of how you got them there. What was your research? What's your research that you did for this next season?
Wikipedia mostly.
I wanted to take them to new places. I knew, I mean, we've been following the expansion of the Viking Age, as it were, in the show. So the show replicates what actually happened in life. So, you know, the raids began with 1 or 2 ships on isolated monasteries in England or Ireland or whatever, and then they became more ships and armies that wintered over in these lands and fought pitched battles. And then they went to Francia, France, and then I was as astonished as anyone else to find that they were on the Silk Road, that they were in the Baltics, that Russia is called Russia because it was founded by the Rus Vikings, whose headquarters were in Kiev. They went around the Mediterranean. They became the guards of the Holy Roman Emperor at one point. And they went through Moorish Spain, and they went right down to what is now Tunisia and into the Sahara. They were traders as much as they were warriors, and that's why they were on the Silk Roads. That's why they went to so many places. But I still find it. I mean, we pride ourselves now in our age that we travel a lot and travel is easy. But these guys could get places fairly quickly. You know, it didn't take forever to get into the Mediterranean and then to get down to Africa and things. And people were traveling all the time, just as the Romans had done. You know, travel and getting to new places is not the thing that only we modern people do. But of course I wanted to enlarge the world of the Vikings, and I did persuade my co-producer, Morgan O'Sullivan, finally, that we couldn't do the Sahara Desert in Ireland. Not even in the west of Ireland. And so we actually had to send a camera crew to Morocco because you can't get the quality of the light. You can't get the sun, you cannot get, it just shines out of every frame. It's the most remarkable bit of photography in the show. And at the same time, I wanted to go other places, and I'm not telling tales out of school, but we go to Iceland in this season as well. And the comparison is brilliant. But here are Vikings going to the ends of the earth. So just hang on to your seats. It's a great ride.
Pretty crazy, and like to Michael's credit as well, like how hard he fights to bring the show to another level. Every season, I mean, it's spectacular, and it really keeps us so invested in what we're doing.
It just gets better and better.
And like whenever Michael visits, like it's like story time.
Yeah.
It's like we're all like, I can't wait to have dinner with Michael because like he can tell us about all this new history that we knew nothing about. And it's crazy. Except for Goose, because he's a professional. Doesn't he?
You know that in about 5 years' time, I'm going to invite you all to dinner and sit you down and say, you know what? I made all that up.
We already know you did.
Well, Catherine, I mean, the show is expanding, it's amazing, and Catherine has expanded her horizons in certain ways with Astrid. I'm wondering if she is she done with men for good? Is it just...
What do you guys think? I don't know if she could ever really be done with men. I feel like she's at this stage in her story I feel that Lagertha has, well, we all know she's been betrayed by a few different men. And I think she needs a little bit of a break. And her relationship with Astrid is not necessarily based as she decides to be with women, but it's based on a true love that she feels comfortable and safe. And, but I feel that her relationship with herself is the strongest at this stage of her journey. I feel that she's not necessarily going to rely on anybody else anymore, man or woman. She's going to rely on herself.
A lot of people who are looking to end her life.
Oh yes, I got a couple people over there that are trying to take over Kattegat.
Are you all?
Well, I get the Sons of Ragnar, I'm just saying, like who knows, because, you know, we left season 4B when she saw the seer, and the seer told her her future is that one of the Sons of Ragnar will eventually. But so I think that definitely, I think Lagertha is also kind of in terms of also believing in the Norse gods. She truly believes in her fate, and she believes that her fate is her fate. She's not going to question the gods, and she's okay with that in a lot of different ways. Sometimes she may struggle with it personally, but she's definitely a pagan at heart, and she's a ruler that is going to be really, you know, I think she's a ruler of someone who's trying to figure it out herself, but also someone who believes that her fate is in the gods' hands.
Okay. All right, well, I want to put it into the audience's hands now and turn it over to questions. So, you have a mic in the center.
I actually want this deer or fox. Yes, go ahead. Oh my
All right,
gosh.
can we get our first question?
Yes, go ahead.
Who is this that we have here?
You need to see my
He wants you to sign it. You should sign
He
it.
wants you to sign something. Here comes the crew. Everybody sign something.
I don't know if I trust this one.
What do you think?
He has something between his legs.
Joey.
That has a baby and he's
Joey, yeah.
very... Oh, he wants a hug. Oh, I see. He wants a hug. He wants a hug.
Oh, come on. Give him a hug.
you, or what do you Josh Groot's opinion, right? Just happy to see that. What's going on?
Actually, want to get you to sign it later if that's all right.
Well, this is something that we're definitely not expecting, as you can see. That's Ragnar for you, right?
Where'd you put the finger around that?
On the woodwork whip. I was scared I was going to be the only one with a costume this weekend.
Travis, do you miss these guys? Do you miss them?
Yes, very much.
We miss you!
Well, we're glad you're here. Welcome back to the Great Hall. So, we can go to a question, and who's up? Alright, say your name, and then who your question's for.
My name's Umberto, and it's for the cast, but I want to start with Catherine. If you could dress up in the hall, what costume, what DC character would you dress up as?
Oh my gosh, I'm a huge fan of DC Comics and Marvel movies, so I'm not sure which one I would do. Oh, that's a good question. Marvel? What do you guys think? Who should I dress up as?
Black Canary or Poison Ivy?
You remind me of the thing from Fantastic Four.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next question.
Hey, sorry, guys, but can you get your phone out real quick?
Oh my gosh, can we just notice her t-shirts? Wake up, kick ass, repeat. Check it out. This is a t-shirt that is for a charity. I designed this t-shirt for a charity for women in film, and all the proceeds go to supporting women filmmakers and storytellers. Thank you for wearing it.
And we thought that was totally awesome. Like, we're your biggest fans. We love your work. And we hope you'll be safe in the next season.
Did you have a question?
My question is, which one of the sons of Ragnar is Lagertha most fearful of?
That is a very good question. I'm not sure if she's fearful. I think every son has something that she's a little bit nervous about, but she's in her own way. She has her own path. And I think it's really important to say is the amount of female viewers and women like you and girls like you that are now watching the show and are supporting kick-ass warrior women, and I want to give you. And I just truly believe that one of my biggest passions is also, I grew up training Taekwondo at the age of 7 years old. I got my first black belt at 13. I started my first Taekwondo school at the age of 16, and at 3 before I was 21. So for me, the big part of my life was helping girls and women and teens to play how to defend themselves. And I just think that that's really important. So.
This is for Gustav and Travis. If there's a scene, hopefully in the future, of Ragnar coming back, what would you two like the scene to be?
Alex Lovewood's number is 213. 2431. I don't know if she calls me.
Yes, you can all call me.
I think that would have to be a scene for them, the two of them drinking, beer together up in Valhalla. Because that's the only place they're at.
Jordan. My question was, after reading the script for this season and seeing that Travis and Ragnar were being written off, did you realize your own mortality in the show, and have you thought of a good way you would like your character to die?
Who's this for? Or who's this for?
Anyone who wants to answer.
You did not just call me, did you really? Oh my God.
To answer your question, like obviously on a show like this where people die, of course you're concerned with your own mortality as your own life. But I think as an actor you just want to make it count. You know, make it count.
Here we go, here we go. Big scoop.
That's what you want. You don't want to get kind of like, you don't want to fade away. You want it to be dramatic. You want it to be featured within the show. That's what you want as an actor. It's not that you don't want to die, because you know that's a trajectory, and that can be more impactful for your storyline to have an awesome death like Travis did.
Yeah.
So what you want is you want to just make it count. That's what you want.
And
Michael does that, so that's good.
And I do think it's important to also recognize all the incredible actors that we've had for the last 4 seasons that have passed on. I know we're having a big Vikings funeral, but we've had incredible talent and great storylines come to an end.
Great. Okay, thank you. Next question, please.
Hi, my name is Matt. First, I would just like to say, most importantly, all hail King Ragnar. The first question is for Michael. I know that there's not a lot of history today that's available to really base a lot of the writings off of Ragnar. A lot of it's myths, as I've heard and read. How did you have, what kind of a time did you have trying to piece together the gaps, and how much room did you have to work with?
There's a fair amount of material. You know, I have a historical work with a historical consultant who dredges up as much as there is, and I'm convinced, as many historians are convinced, that Ragnar was a real person. His death is mentioned as having happened in several places, but that's not unusual at the time. I mean, there are no specific records. But it seemed to me that if you mentioned it enough times, it seemed to prove that there was a guy moving around called Ragnar Lothbrok. And we certainly know quite a lot about the sons. And we know that from the records of monks and both French and Saxon Irish monks. And so there was something real for me to go on, and I took the story forward, incorporating some of the events that I knew had happened during his lifetime or soon afterwards. So it was slightly an act of invention, but it was always based on as many facts as I could find. And the portrait was as authentic as I could make it. And I'm very proud of the fact that this is a very real show about real people and about real events, and some shows aren't.
Michael, is there going to be a season 6? They're going to kill me for asking that.
I have no definitive news, but I certainly hope so, because I'm writing the episodes.
Hi, holy shit, Ragnar's back. So my name is Jessica. My question, well, first of all, what I love about the show is it's not just a bunch of hot badass guys, it's a hot badass chick. What I want to know is, why did it take you so long to kill her and get your crown back.
Aslan?
Yes, to kill Aslan and get your crown back.
Oh, jeez. Well, you know, I had to plan it and make sure it was done in the right way.
You didn't dare to do it when Ragnar was around.
No. No, I think with Ragnar, well, Michael, maybe you can answer that.
I never wanted it to seem arbitrary. So if you're writing a story that's organic and makes sense, then what you don't want to do is suddenly intrude something just because you feel that it would be a nice thing to see or a nice thing to say. I seem to remember that I always knew it was going to happen, but I had to wait until the right moment came along.
Okay, great, thank you.
Hi there, my name is Alexander. I really love the show, guys. So my question, I'd like to hear from the entire panel, but mainly from Michael and lastly from King Ragnar. The next season's, the upcoming season seems to be a lot about legacy of the Sons of Ragnar. I'm wondering, in your opinion, my favorite is Ivar, and I think he's the only one who... I think he's the only son who showed the genius that Ragnar had so far. Sorry, Karen, I'd like you too.
I'll just go fuck myself. No. What might you do with that character? I mean, it's brilliant.
So I was wondering, in your own opinions, who do you think is the true heir of Ragnar?
Travis, do you want to try that one?
I was hoping to hear from Michael first. But then...
You gave him some time. That was nice of you. Give him some time to figure it out.
It's hard to break up with the son's heart.
I love them all equally.
That's a lie.
I think they're so different. You know, every son's so different. How many is the life of them?
Yeah, I don't think there's a true as such. I think I've always thought this about great football players, great soccer players. It's our national sport, but their sons are very rarely, almost never, in fact, never as good as they are, and it's a huge burden. But I think that each of the sons has got to have their own life and find who they are separately, and in order to take up, possibly to take up that burden. But in order to take up that burden, they've got to go through fire and hell to do so. They've got to prove themselves to themselves and to other people. It would always be too easy to say that there's someone who's being mentored and who's been prepared and they're the natural and obvious inheritors. I don't really believe in that. I think that you go back to square one, and each of the sons in their own way has got to prove that they have the right, that they have the equipment, that they have the intelligence to take on that huge and growing role, actually.
We have time for one more quick question.
Hello, I'm Sean.
Is that George Baggin?
We have another costume up here.
George Baggin played
Athelstan. All right.
My question is from Mr. Host, and you mentioned how you want to expand the Vikings world through the show. And my question is, in the later seasons, since we're already in Mediterranean Sea, will we view into the Byzantine Empire in the east, and into Constantinople, and into the Black Sea, into these future seasons as the show continues?
We certainly visit the Byzantine Empire, yes. I'm aware of the history of the period. I can't say definitely where we're going to go, and even if I really knew, I might not tell you.
Thank you, sir.
We actually get to squeeze in one tiny last one.
All right, well, first of all, thank goodness for bringing us 2 seasons in 1 year, because that was incredible.
Thank you so much.
Otherwise, it just takes way too long. This is for Gustav. Floki is absolutely my favorite character. And there's so many dimensions to him, but one of the things that just gets me every time is that laugh. Like, what? Is that really your laugh, or where does that come from? And can you do it?
Yeah, I was actually, we were the first year when we were still young. When we started on the show, we prepped in this, like, Druid's Glen is called, it's a golf resort outside of Dublin. And in that hotel, that's where Floki's laughter was born. And I was sitting there in the bed with my laptop, like, trying to figure out, like, quirky facial expressions. Like, this was all new, we were just trying to figure out the character. Like, work out the voice and the accent and everything. I was like, he needs to have this, like, quirky laughter. So I was sitting there kind of like, just trying out different laughter.
Can you do it?
Yeah.
Come on.
It's been a long time, but I think I got it.